There is a unique kind of anxiety that emerges when the threats around you become invisible. It is not the immediate danger of something physically in front of you. It is the psychological pressure of uncertainty itself. In 2026, people are carrying a constant undercurrent of tension created by overlapping fears, health scares, biological threats, institutional mistrust, endless disclosure cycles, digital panic, algorithmic fear amplification, and the exhausting sense that reality itself is becoming increasingly unstable. You open your phone looking for reassurance, but instead, you absorb another wave of warnings, statistics, theories, predictions, and emotional contagion. Your nervous system never receives a clear signal that the danger has passed. As a result, your body remains suspended in a low-grade survival state long after the initial trigger. This is the modern crisis of hypervigilance. The human brain was never designed to process global fear in real time, every minute of the day. Your nervous system evolved to respond to immediate, localized threats, something physically present in your environment. But now your brain treats every alarming headline, every update, every speculative disclosure as if it is occurring directly outside your front door. The amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, does not fully distinguish between a nearby danger and a digitally consumed fear signal. To your biology, uncertainty itself becomes the threat. This is why you feel exhausted, even when you have not physically exerted yourself. Your body is running survival chemistry without resolution. Cortisol rises, muscles remain tense, breathing becomes shallow, attention narrows, sleep quality decreases. The nervous system becomes addicted to scanning for danger because it believes vigilance equals safety. But the cruel paradox is that the more information you consume in search of certainty, the more dysregulated you become. This creates what can be called the refresh cycle. You refresh the feed hoping for closure. You search for the final answer that will calm the mind. You tell yourself one more article will help you feel prepared. But instead of peace, you receive more ambiguity, more speculation, more fear, more uncertainty, more emotional stimulation without emotional resolution. Your brain enters a loop where it mistakes monitoring for control. But information overload is not preparation. In many cases, it is self-induced nervous system fragmentation. This is where modern anxiety becomes deeply physical. People often think anxiety is just mental, but chronic uncertainty impacts the entire body. The autonomic nervous system begins prioritizing defense over restoration. Digestion weakens. Immune resilience decreases. Focus becomes fractured. The body sacrifices long-term maintenance for short-term vigilance. And because the threats are abstract and ongoing, the stress response never fully completes itself. This is why modern existential anxiety feels so different from ordinary stress. It is unresolved stress stretched across months or years. The first instinct is usually to search harder, but true recovery often begins by stepping away. Not from reality, not from awareness, but from compulsive overexposure. The modern nervous system is drowning in inputs. Every headline competes for your attention because attention is profitable. Fear is highly engaging to the brain. The unknown activates survival circuitry more intensely than certainty, because uncertainty leaves the brain searching for completion. This is why digital panic feels addictive. Your brain keeps trying to close an open loop that cannot be closed through endless consumption. At some point, the healthiest thing you can do is interrupt the loop entirely. This is where grounding becomes revolutionary. Grounding is often misunderstood as simplistic wellness advice, but neurologically, it is a powerful interruption of panic circuitry. When your attention returns to direct sensory experience, the brain receives signals that you are physically present and not under immediate attack. Notice what happens when you stop scrolling and simply focus on your breathing. At first, discomfort rises. The mind wants stimulation again. It wants answers. It wants movement. But if you remain still long enough, the nervous system begins recalibrating. Your breathing deepens, your shoulders soften, your attention widens, your body exits micro-survival mode. This is not avoidance. It is regulation. The modern world teaches people to outsource safety to information streams. But sustainable psychological stability cannot be built on endless monitoring. It must be built internally. This is where disciplined stillness becomes essential. Stillness is not passive. It is trained presence. It is the ability to remain psychologically anchored even when external certainty does not exist. Most people think peace means the absence of threats. But genuine peace is the ability to remain internally ordered while uncertainty exists around you. If your nervous system requires perfect external conditions before it can rest, you will never fully relax because the world will never stop shifting. This is why stillness is a discipline rather than a mood. You cultivate it intentionally. You train your attention to return to the body. You limit unnecessary exposure to panic cycles. You create boundaries around information intake. You reconnect with physical reality rather than digital abstraction. Because despite the chaos online, your immediate environment often remains far calmer than your mind believes. This contrast is important. The internet collapses all crises into one continuous emotional stream. Your brain experiences this as simultaneous danger. But in your actual physical space, many of those threats are not immediately present. Your feet are still on the floor. Your breathing is still happening. The room around you still exists. The nervous system can stabilize if you allow it to return to the present moment. This is why sensory grounding is so effective during existential anxiety. Touching a textured surface, walking outside, feeling sunlight, listening to ambient sound, focusing on slow breathing. These actions sound simple because they operate beneath language. They communicate directly with the nervous system. Modern anxiety is heavily cognitive. It traps people in abstract, catastrophic futures. Grounding interrupts this by returning awareness to immediate sensory reality. Over time, this creates resilience. Not because uncertainty disappears, but because your relationship to uncertainty changes. You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop treating every headline as a personal emergency. You stop allowing digital noise to dictate your internal chemistry. Instead, you begin building an internal anchor. This anchor is psychological, physiological, and emotional. Psychologically, you recognize that uncertainty is part of life rather than a sign of imminent collapse. Physiologically, your nervous system becomes less reactive through repeated regulation practices. Emotionally, you develop tolerance for ambiguity instead of compulsively trying to eliminate it. This shift is critical because modern life is increasingly unpredictable. The people who thrive are not the ones who eliminate uncertainty. They are the ones who remain functional within it. This is the true purpose of stillness. Stillness is not withdrawal from reality. It is the cultivation of enough internal stability to face reality without fragmentation. And fragmentation is exactly what constant panic creates. When people are overwhelmed by fear, they lose access to long-term thinking. Decision-making becomes impulsive. Attention becomes fractured. Emotional regulation weakens. Fear narrows consciousness into survival mode. Stillness reverses this. It restores cognitive flexibility. It expands perception. It reactivates the prefrontal cortex. It allows intentional thought to return. This is why protecting your nervous system is no longer optional in the modern era. It is foundational mental hygiene. You would not leave your physical body exposed to toxins indefinitely without intervention. Yet many people expose their minds to nonstop psychological toxicity every single day without boundaries. Mind care requires filtration, not denial, not ignorance, but intelligent limitation. You do not need every update immediately. You do not need to emotionally absorb every global fear signal. You do not need to carry the collective anxiety of millions of people inside your nervous system. You are allowed to disconnect. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to choose presence over panic. In fact, doing so may be the healthiest decision you make, because the future will always contain uncertainty. There will always be another crisis, another alarming prediction, another wave of social fear. If your inner stability depends entirely on external certainty, your peace will always remain fragile. But if you develop the discipline of stillness, your nervous system begins operating differently. You become less reactive, less compulsive, less emotionally hijacked by noise. You begin responding rather than spiraling. And slowly, you realize something important. The mind does not heal through endless stimulation. It heals through regulation, through presence, through silence, through reconnection with physical reality, through moments where the nervous system finally receives permission to stop scanning for danger. This is where true resilience is built. Not in the constant pursuit of answers, but in the ability to remain grounded while answers remain incomplete. So if you feel overwhelmed by modern uncertainty, begin smaller than your mind expects. Step away from the feed for a moment. Slow your breathing. Notice your environment. Reconnect with your body. Allow silence to exist without immediately filling it. Because stillness is not weakness. In a world addicted to panic, stillness is power. And learning how to protect your internal peace may become one of the most important survival skills of this generation. Mind care is self-care.